The pub is the place where people come together to meet. A village is just a collection of houses. A community is where people come together. And this was the last pub in the village. The pub was owned by a finance company, and they'd underinvested in this building for a long time. We were worried about what was going to happen longer term, and after a few years where they hadn't sold it, it became apparent they were looking to move it from a pub into residential housing, at which time we would have lost a pub, the meeting point, the hub of this community forevermore. For something which has been at the heart for 500 years, it felt wrong to lose it on our watch. And when we heard that a residential developer had put an offer that had been accepted, that's when we, the community, decided we need to stop this. And we got a group together and we said, we don't know how we're going to do this, but let's see if we can get the support of the community. So we were given 28 days to find £360,000 to buy this building, or it would have been lost forever. And we went to the community and said, can we do it? We weren't convinced we could, because at that time we had 57 pence in our bank account. But over 500 people put their hands in their pockets, and we raised the £360,000 required to buy this building. We took ownership of it in February 2022. It was both the best day of our lives and the worst day of our lives because we bought a building that was falling apart, literally. And it was only at that point we realised that our work had only just started.
So I became involved with this project when it was shortly after I'd moved here. I didn't know many people in the area and sort of started meeting people here and there that were looking for volunteers. So started getting involved with the gardening side of things and just being involved in the project. Really great way to meet people, and it just seemed like a really wonderful, special project. And then started talking about my business and my skill set and offering any help I could. And that's how I got involved as an interior designer.
Without the volunteers, we would not be sat here today in the building as it is. They've contributed tens of thousands of pounds of their time in labour from various different skills. Some have gardened, some have been cleaners, others have got specific skills, a plumber, an electrician, and just everyone has come together to do their bit because we all want our community hub and our community pub back.
So a lot of the building materials have been donated. Some of the major ones have been bath stone. So they donated the stone for the front wall and the chimneys, and that's made a huge impact to the front. So you can see it's quite refurbished and looks really lovely, and it's still got the old pub aspects as well. Had bits of furniture donated and reclaimed as well, has been wonderful. And a lot of people in the community who've been here for a long time have donated artworks and relics and bits and pieces that they've had, which has been really wonderful to have that all come together. And part of the donation was, the most incredible donation actually, to be honest, was the Corston fittings. I mean, getting to where we did in the project, the budget was very low. There was a lot of work that had to be done on the structural side of things and getting the building into a good shape and having proper heating and everything like that. And we also wanted to do it well and properly because it's quite a rare opportunity to do that. So by the stage of decorating, the budget was close to non-existent. So we had to focus on ways we could make it look really, really lovely. And so the donation from Corston for lighting and ironmongery was incredible, and it's just really made all the difference to the space. It just feels really lovely.
A pub is not just a building, and we spent 3.5 years focusing on the building, but that was always only going to be half the journey. A pub is also about the people who are running the pub, and we didn't know whether we'd find the right people, and we could not be happier with a couple we've found who'll be running this pub going forwards. We found two people who have an absolute meeting of minds with our vision of what we wanted this pub to be. And with Charlie and his incredible food and the cuisine he'll be cooking, and Hannah, who is just the best hospitality expert we've ever come across. We're already friends. We already feel they're part of the family, and we know those two are going to lead this pub into the future, and the future is very bright indeed.
So I'm local. I grew up at the top of the hill in Winsley, about 1.5 miles away. So I sort of always knew about the Hot Pole. It was a pub we sort of came to every now and again throughout my childhood. And then we coincidentally were passing in the summer and sort of came over the brow of the hill. And the Hot Pole was gleaming and looking stunning towards the end of its renovation period. And we got home and I mentioned it to my mum and she said, yep, they're looking for new tenants. So that's sort of how we came around to finding it.
That was a Sunday, and then we emailed in the evening and spoke to some of the board members, and then the next morning we were here 9 a.m. having a look around, which is quite surreal.
I think just sort of straight away aesthetically, it's a magnificent building. It's steeped in history, and it's just beautiful from the outside. In the past, it was kind of a bit of a dingy space, which is my memory of it sort of through growing up. And then when we came in for our first tour in the morning, we opened the front doors and the place had completely changed and our eyes, lit up.
The inspiration for the interiors came largely from the surrounds. So we have focused a lot on the organic side of things. We're in a really beautiful spot in the southwest here, lots of greenery, and it's a very calm, quiet area, and wanted to keep that here as well. So keeping it quite organic and natural, got lots of greens, and there's like fresh greens as well. Lots of the reclaimed furniture that's come, that's all quite organic as well, the stone. So it's all really bringing the nature inside. And then a lot of it as well is we really wanted to keep the traditional pub elements without it being heavy and dark. So I think we've achieved that really well, keeping it light and fresh and natural and traditional, but a lovely space to be in. We chose to use Corston because it just felt like a really natural fit, to be honest. So both Hannah, who is the new tenant of the pub, and myself had Corston in mind before we met and started speaking about the project, but it just feels like the best fit. The style of the fittings have just the right amount of traditional and contemporary, which works perfectly in the pub. Everything is very well made and beautiful and weighty, and a big part of the project was sustainability. It's the nature of this project in the pub falling in such a bad state and being refurbed really, really well again, because we wanted to do it really well in one go and do it properly the first time. And it's been a big focus on sustainability and longevity and doing it all properly. And I know that Corston places a lot of value on sustainability and just felt like a really good fit from that point of view. Also, the finishes are beautiful and worked perfectly with us. We chose the bronze finish for the Corston fittings because it was just the perfect finish of the space. It's got an element of warmth. It's got that traditional element to it, that character. And it will just look really, really lovely over time. And it works perfectly with the rest of the colour palette. So with the limestone, the different greens, and the natural stone flooring, and the dark timber furniture with bronze is just beautiful.
Thinking about my hopes for the future of the Hot Pole, one of the hopes has already been realised, because we felt this was really important as a place for the community to come together. And one thing we'd never fully appreciated was how bonding this project was for the community in the journey of getting here.